to Free Speech Nation with me, Andrew Doyle. Jennie Watson had been running a very popular lesbian speed dating event at a pub in London for over 4 years. Recently, a male who identifies as a trans woman and as a lesbian approached Jennie and asked to attend. She politely refused, explaining that this was a social event for women. Since then, Jennie has been subject to threats and intimidation, and the new manager of the pub has seemingly colluded with trans activists to get the event shut down. I'm joined now by Jennie Watson herself and also Kate Barker, the CEO at the LGB Alliance. Welcome both.
Thank you.
So, Jennie, I want to ask you first about the event itself, the speed dating event.
Yeah.
Why did you set it up? What's the event about?
So 5 years ago, I actually attended a lesbian speed dating event myself, and it was run by 2 heterosexual men. And I find this a bit strange, so I did a bit of digging online, and I noticed that there wasn't a dedicated lesbian organisation.
Yes.
So I thought, if it doesn't exist, I'll create it myself.
Absolutely.
And then for the first event, I thought, no one's going to turn up.
Yeah.
But actually, we sold all the tickets, and it was a great night. And then from that point forward, it was...
Absolutely. Yeah. And you ran it for 4 years.
4.5 years, almost 5.
Yeah. And I imagine you ran it better than heterosexual men would.
Yeah.
So now we were in this situation where all of a sudden you're told by the venue, the College Arms, where you've been hosting this event for almost 5 years, suddenly, no, you can't anymore.
Yeah.
Now, this came about because a trans-identified male who calls himself a lesbian approached you, actually turned up to one of the speed dating events. What happened there?
So there was some inappropriate conduct in the toilets. He was getting very close to one woman in particular. There was some touching involved.
Right.
And I spoke with him, and he wasn't very happy about that. And it all.
And am I right thinking you said that this is a women-only event?
Yeah.
Now I understand, Kate. Of course, this individual identifies as female, identifies as a lesbian, but is clearly male. I think we actually have an blurred out image of the individual in question. I don't know if we can show that. If we can, we'll have a look. So when, Kate, you have people who are biologically male, as this individual clearly is, attending a lesbian event and behaving inappropriately, irrespective actually of the behaviour, Kate, isn't it within Jennie's right to say, look, this is a lesbian event, this is for women only?
Yeah, sure. I mean, to our mind, it's the only thing more absurd than a man saying he's lesbian is the fact that the people that own these venues have decided that Jennie is bigoted and unkind for calling out this obvious untruth.
Yes.
And I think it's very much being framed as by the activist as being, I suppose, anti-trans. But in essence, it's nothing to do with trans people. We just don't want men to come.
Yeah.
Because trans people are entitled to live their lives.
Of course, and absolutely.
You know this. But you are running an event specifically for women who are attracted to women.
Exactly. And we want lesbians to be safe in those events, and that's all there is to it. There's
but it's
no hatred.
It's interesting how people interpret it as hatred and
exactly.
transphobia straight away.
Yeah, which is crazy.
And presumably you would have called out that kind of behaviour if it had been a woman, a biological woman as well.
Of course.
See, it's very interesting, this case. And what makes this particularly interesting, I think, Kate, is that we now know that the new manager of the College Arms has come in, and we know because there was someone that you know who was in a WhatsApp group who saw messages. It was a WhatsApp group of activists, wasn't it? And this manager entered the WhatsApp chat to explain to the activists that he had let's say, some spicy views about this event and wanted it to stop. Is that right?
Absolutely. I mean, far too spicy, probably, most of them to say here. But it's really interesting because it's so difficult anyway for people like Jennie to set up an event like this in the face of so much real hostility from people. And then to find out, as we did, that somebody from the organisation that actually owns the pub is in that group, making it their mission to shut down an event held by their own employer. So it's a really, really peculiar situation, and even more frightening when you know that it's behind the scenes this is happening.
So the manager of the pub is saying that this is a purely business decision, saying that that's why he wants this shut down, that it's not successful enough.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
Well, he's saying that now.
Yeah, but the WhatsApp messages don't show that at all.
Well, we do have some of those. So you can have a look at one of the WhatsApp messages. So this is a message he sent to the other trans activists. I'm not actually in the venue yet, so my power is limited, but I'll be seeing the area manager today and can make it clear I want their bookings cancelled. Hopefully he'll do it for me. In the other group, when I was made aware of this, I've been discussing maybe replacing it with an in-house set of speed dating nights with inclusivity at its heart. And if we want to know what this manager's attitude to... we do have other messages, and he refers to effing turfs.
Yeah, I mean, a turfy asshole, I think I am, yeah.
We do have to apologise for the language there. We're not allowed to say that before the watershed, but yes,
pardon me.
Effing turfy a-hole.
Yeah.
So, in other words, very colourful language that is used against women who wish to gather with other women.
Yeah. That's all there is to it. There's no hatred.
But it's quite interesting that this manager is denying that there's any kind of prejudice on his part, because the messages prove that there is.
Absolutely. The messages show that there is, and the messages even show some discussion, because I was going in with Jennie to meet with him, with the manager and a senior person. So they were saying, well, when they come in, we'll tell them it's a commercial decision, rather than it's anything to do with our personal beliefs. So it's clearly nonsense.
Yes.
And commercially, it's been very successful. It wouldn't have been running for so many years if it wasn't a good event. And it's popular and people love it, and there's been loads of lovely success stories from it. It's purely and simply the idea of running a lesbian event is deemed offensive. To be a lesbian and to have a women-only event is seen to be bigoted and exclusionary. And when we had our meeting, because we went in wanting solutions, we had our meeting and we said, look, we've seen these WhatsApp messages. They're really hostile. They're really discriminatory. But how can we move forward? So why don't we keep the lesbian event, and why not have a trans event as well?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
They rejected that because they said that he rejected that. He said he couldn't have an event in his pub which excluded anybody. And when pressed on that, I said, this is a lesbian event. Do you mean you could not exclude men from it? And he said, yes, that's right. So it's an absolutely absurd position that in order to be inclusive, it means you can't run a lesbian event.
But it's not just a lesbian event. It's a lesbian event specifically relating to dating.
Exactly.
Right? So surely, of all the events where you could exclude men, an all-lesbian dating event would be the top of the list, I would have thought.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And, of course, this isn't the only time, Jennie. Is it? We've had Sal Grover in Australia, who's currently facing court action because she has a kind of dating app for women only, and that's deemed to be a problem. In Tasmania, it's now illegal for lesbians to assemble by themselves. Yeah. So it is important, isn't it, that you have the right to do this?
Absolutely, yeah. And
why is it under threat at the moment, Kate? And why is this happening from people who claim to be progressive? Why are gay rights activists having to fight the same old battles again? The right to assemble, the right to organise.
It's so frustrating. And I think what it is that institutions and businesses somehow feel vaguely that if a trans-identified male wants something, then he must have it because something, the Equality Act. And they're not quite sure what that fuzzy bit in the middle is, but somehow they feel that's kind of the way it should work. But they really have a poor understanding of the law, and I think that's been driven by lobbying organisations, and it's in their interest for these organisations to have a poor understanding of the law. But it's people who are same-sex attracted and women who are really suffering because of this.
It's happening with gay men as well. I mean, I've spoken to a number of gay men who they don't go on sites such as Grindr, places where they meet other men, because they say there's too many women there now.
I know.
It's just a very odd thing where gay individuals can't meet other gay individuals in those own spaces. It's very strange.
I think it's tragic in a lot of ways. You know, especially if you're thinking about the gay men. We've had lots of letters and emails from gay men saying they felt super uncomfortable. They've gone to an event where they think it's going to be men only. And there are some women there who identify as gay men. So the men feel horribly awkward and uncomfortable navigating this unpleasant situation. And the girls, heterosexual girls, who've been told, if I take some hormones and have a mastectomy, I will be a gay man and those men will be attracted to me. So that's just tragic as well.
Yes, of course.
And I think people are being misled by this sort of a it's almost as if we've been tipped into a bizarre upside-down world where words have no meanings and it obscures truth and reality.
Yeah, that's right.
And you keep hearing activists say things like genital preferences are transphobic and that people aren't attracted. But of course, individuals, a lesbian is attracted to people who are biologically female, not people who identify as being female. That should be quite obvious, I would have thought.
Exactly.
So what are you going to do next, Jennie? I mean, what's the next step here?
I mean, hopefully find a new venue, but I think that's going to be a problem because the activists, they're targeting venues and they're going to distribute literature and say we're transphobic, don't have these people, you know, they're a hate group. So it's going to be a struggle to find a new venue.
And just talking to you now, it's quite clear you're not a hateful individual.
No,
this isn't about
of course not.
anything.
Of course
it's
not.
about your right to organise in the way that you want to.
Of course, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, during my university days, I lived with trans people, you know, and I'm still close to them. So I'm in no way transphobic, not at all.
It's a horrible accusation.
It is. It's insulting, completely insulting.
Absolutely. Well, I should say we did get in touch with Stonegate. They own the venue in question. It's a very big company, of course. They also own Slug and Letters.
Yeah.
And they're saying they are not commenting on this story. But I want to just say that it is an open invitation to Stonegate. A Stonegate representative will always be welcome to come and talk to me about this issue on this show. So I hope that someone will take us up on that. But in the meantime, Jennie and Kate, thank you both so much for joining me.
Yeah,
Really
thank you. Telling you about the nice stories that we have. You know?
Sorry, Jennie, sorry.
We have lots of lovely stories. We've had 2 weddings. We've got 1 engagement coming up. So I've been to 2 of the weddings, and it was a lovely experience in knowing that we made that happen. You know,
so we've had some success from
we've
these
had lots, you know, friendships, relationships, weddings, engagements, and you know, it's been taken away from us. And it's a beautiful thing, and. You know,
it's such a shame it's been taken away now, but hopefully something will be resolved.
I hope so. I really do. I really do.
Well, Jennie, thanks so much for joining us.